Pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Amber will be joining us. She's just running a few minutes late, so she said we could get started without her. We'll start with public comment. Michael, I saw you had signed up first.
Yes, ma'am. Mike Gaynor, 8 Hobbits Lane. I wanted to let the public know, because this stuff is confusing for people. I speak to people about it a lot. On the 27th, the Sylvester Manor is going to be going up again to the ZBA to try and secure a special permit. They've been operating illegally for over a decade on that property. And so that's on they kicked the can on that meeting. It's going to happen again. A lot of people don't understand. In conjunction with that, they also have to go under site plan review with the town board, which will happen, as I understand it. And if I'm wrong, please correct me. But that will follow after whatever happens inside of the ZBA. I just left the Historical Society board. If I can find this interesting. And do you know, for Sylvester Manor, there is not one reference to Sylvester Manor inside of the Historical Society, literally anywhere. Place a 240-acre compound where hundreds of slaves were kept and buried. And there's literally, I tracked down the archivist and I spoke with her. Why does he always leave when I speak?
No.
Okay. In any event, so I tracked her down and she said they keep all this, they do have some Sylvester Manor stuff, but it's locked in the basement. I thought that was very odd. That's very unusual. That's pretty historical, significant event. 200 years of slavery took place on this island. And it's going to be important that the board consider that when they go through site plan review. And so I have 2 issues that I want to speak with about, because today you're going to be hearing from Sylvester Manor. They're going to be talking about hosting an event. And I won't reference that directly. I'll speak about
You have Historical Society on here as
I was speaking about the Historical Society. I am. That was my intro into the Historical Society. And I'm going to give you some documentation that's important that I would like the board to read in advance of that site plan review. Okay, so there are 2 issues here. The fact, part of our history here is that they've been operating illegally for over a decade. Another part of our history is that place is a 400 or 200 plus acre property with hundreds of slaves buried on it. And there is no reference to it. There's no plaque, there's no statue. It's not inside of the Historical Society, anywhere inside of this community. And I think that's a really big deal. And these folks.
May I just interrupt for 1 second to ask a
Yes,
question?
sir. Yes, sir.
When the board engages in site plan review, I assume there'll be a public hearing?
yes.
Yes.
And if that's the case, I would recommend to the gentleman that he reserve his comments for the public hearing. They should be a part of the public record. You will want them to be considered by the decision-making body at the time that the decision is made. And the applicant is entitled to have a decision made upon a complete record. So really, it's more appropriate for you to make these comments when the board takes up that site plan review.
Yes, Stephen, the next thing that's on the agenda is they're going to be asking to host an event, because that's what they are. They're an event company over there and their property directly abuts mine. And I have 2 issues with that. One, this board has established extreme bias towards this applicant. Extreme bias. They've been operating illegally for a decade and nobody's ever taken any action against them. So I don't think they should even be hearing this application for an outdoor assembly permit. The other issue that I take exception with is the fact that that is an inappropriate use. They want to have a concert on a property, a historical site that was just where hundreds of people are buried, slaves are buried in a mass unmarked grave. So I have a real problem with those 2 issues. So it's absolutely germane. And so I'm going to speak about something. I'm going to give these folks some facts that I want them to reflect on, okay, before they hear this permit application. And I'll comment about that later. This is a book written by a woman named Harriet Jacobs. It is considered the definitive work on life as a slave. She was born into slavery along with her family, only to watch them get sold off. She tells the story inside of this book from a very female perspective, what it was like for a female to be a slave. She was raped for the first time as a child at 12 years of age, right? As were her friends. I would like everybody to have this document. No, I would like you folks to, even Benjamin over here, And Amber, I'd like you to read this before you go through your site plan review and before you consider what they're going to be doing over at that event that they have planned in a month from now. I'll reserve comments about the event.
Meg, it is inappropriate for the board to hear argument regarding a matter that must be decided after a public hearing. The public is entitled to notice that the hearing is taking place. The applicant and those in support and opposition to the application are entitled to hear what the gentleman is saying now and respond to it.
Are there going to be public comments as part of this? Are there going to be public comments as part of this application?
Yes.
Great. I'll hold off until then.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bobby Lane.
Bobby Lane, 84 Peconic. And thank you all. I know you've been working hard on the housing program. And I read everything, did some homework, spoke to people that are involved in the field. And I just have a few comments. I'll keep it short because I know you're here too late all the time. As far as signing it, yes, it says on New York State site, I'll use Stephen's term, aspirational, but I was wondering if anyone had the opportunity to read the contract, the actual contract, if you decide to take funds. And if you decide to take funds and sign that contract, it really opens the door for us for some issues on zoning. That's one. Two, I looked up where these, who signed this on Long Island, and it was really Mineola and Greenport. Mineola, as we all know, is a hub, transit area hub. They were building up around the transit area. There are specific grants that are available for that. When I looked at the grants, I did not see a grant that Shelter Island would qualify for. So here we are opening this up, and you're taking a lot of time looking at this. The one other thing that I have to say about multifamily housing is even if you can raise the money, we talk about infrastructure that goes with it, which is not provided for in these grants. This is something the town would have to absorb, which does impact every owner of property here, because we'd be carrying the burden of this. So these were the key things, and I know I read the addendum letter, which I see that you tried to explain the intent, which I greatly appreciate. But I think that before even spending a lot more time on it, maybe you should read one of the contracts. The one other point, I did a little bit of homework on the CDCLI, who perhaps, maybe they were the only ones that bid on this. I don't know the whole history, but they may not, in fact, be the best alternative. And if you want a good contact to speak to with Habitat for Humanity, I think maybe they originally turned us down, but maybe speaking to someone higher up, which we can make happen, I'd be happy to make an introduction. And one last thing, perhaps it would be very interesting. I heard that we did a great job on the ADUs, which I'm happy to hear. It would be nice for us to know how many ADUs are actually done. I'd love to know the breakout of senior citizen versus workforce people, how they're really being used. Because I think that's important. If that's a way that seems to fit best for our community, maybe there are other ways to look at the ADUs. That's it. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time and all your effort in looking at it. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right. So anyone else with public comment? Anyone online? All right, so we're going to move to the next agenda item, which is the outdoor assembly permit applications. The first one on the list is Sylvester Manor and their concert. Does everyone had a chance to look at the application? So it's one evening from 4 to 7:15 on August 23rd. They're asking for a noise exemption, but they don't need any other services from the town. The applicant's here if we have any questions. Guys have any questions?
I don't.
Because this,
What's the time again? Is it in the afternoon?
yeah, it's 4 to 7:15.
A noise exemption is not a time exemption, it's.
It's a volume.
Volume.
You're right, right, because there is no time in our noise code that noise has to stop, it's just a decibel reading, so, yeah, 4 to 7:15.
I'm going to interrupt for one more second. I apologize, but if the board is going to take the book that the gentleman provided as a part of the record of its consideration of this application, I would recommend that if the gentleman has another copy, he provide a copy to the applicant.
Sure.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
So this is for Sylvester Manor to hold a concert on their property. Any questions? Board?
The concerts happened every year for the last, what, 5 years, 6 years, 7 years?
Okay.
Something like that.
You don't have any questions, I'll move to the audience, see if they have questions.
Gordon,
This
any
doesn't go for a
questions?
hearing.
I looked at it briefly. I'm going to take another look at it later on. I looked at it though, okay, and I didn't see anything that that stood out.
Because this doesn't go for a public hearing, it's just a resolution. Is there anyone from the public who wants to speak? Michael?
Mike Gaynor, 8 Cobbetts Lane. My property is directly abutting Sylvester Manor Education. I don't even know where to start. One, as previously discussed, they're operating in a legal business in a AA zone. They've been doing it for a decade. They've been flouting the law. They've got all the resources in the world. Every other organization in this community goes and gets permission first. They haven't. They could have done it any time in the last 10 years. They chose not to. This community's given them tremendous bias. Tremendous bias. They do things illegally all the time. They have all sorts of illegal things, and this community never takes any enforcement action against them. They undermine the rule of law. This is one of 2 issues that I have with these folks. You throw the book at everybody else, and these guys can do whatever they want. Technical stuff inside of this application, and Stephen should know this. If you want to jump in, now you can jump in, Stephen. They're supposed to apply 30 days in advance of this event, and it's not 30 days in advance of the event, is it? That's item number 1. Item number 2, it says inside of the code that you folks are supposed to consider, which means have a discussion about the fact that they violated the code last year and they didn't get a permit. They went out and sold tickets last year on Eventbrite for 300 people to come see this concert. You remember that, Mac, right? I came in here afterwards. They had 300 people over there. They were serving liquor. They knew what the requirement was, and they had this concert, right? They knew that they were supposed to apply for that. They flout the law. Every opportunity they get, they do that because you guys encourage them to do that. You allow them to do that. They should not be getting a special permit for this thing. It says you've got to consider that inside of this application. Those are the 2 things. The other aspect to this that I have a real problem with is based on this document, right? The fact that because of the historical nature, they own that property. They do not own the history of this island. They have co-opted that history. They're trying to whitewash it. That's why they renamed the place Sylvester Manor Educational Farm. It is a former slave plantation. Hundreds of people were buried there. This document is written by a woman named Harriet Jacobs. She gives this unique perspective of what it was like to be a female slave inside of a place like that. She describes what life is like.
I understand, Michael.
I know, Margaret, I have an opportunity to make my public comments, okay? I served 4 years inside of the United States Army, humping heavy metal all over 3 continents so I could protect my right to free speech and others. So I'm gonna say my public comment, all right? I'll be done here in a minute, okay? That is an inappropriate place to run an event business. This woman was raped for the first time at 12 years of age, right? And then she tells the story of what it was like. They estimate by the time slavery was abolished, 20% of the slaves that were on the planet were the product of sexual slavery. And you folks, these folks here, they want to go turn that place into an event center. They have corporate functions there with dancing and disco within 100 feet of a couple of hundred slaves being buried. That is what life was like as a woman on a plantation. This woman actually got her freedom. She escaped to the North and she wrote this book because she wanted to inform women in the North what life was like being a female slave living on a plantation. It was awful, right? Obviously, it's impossible to imagine. She tells one story. This will be it. One story. Her best friend on the plantation where they were both owned by slaves was also raped, right? And that woman wasn't so lucky. She got pregnant. She didn't tell her slave husband because she knew he would go nuts. So when the baby was born, it was clearly biracial. And so the husband did go nuts, and he went after the master of the plantation. Do you know where that got him? That got him strung up by his wrists so that his toes were just above the ground. And then they beat the living shit out of him. That's what life is like on a plantation. This is in 1860, and these folks want to run an event business there. That's inappropriate. Those are my comments.
Thank you. All right. Anybody else have comments? If not, we're good with this. I'll move on to the next topic. Next one is the country fair. So this is an event that used to happen. It's the same day as the craft fair and the Green Expo. It kind of creates a whole center fun zone. And it's going to be on the fire department property. And it's the 23rd from 11:30 to 3. Would you guys like to tell us about it?
We decided to do it again since COVID is now over, and the Lions Club came to us from the chamber, and we're celebrating the 75th anniversary of the Lions Club. So we're putting it together this year in a feat because we haven't done it in so many years. But we're looking to do it. It's a fundraising event for the fire department.
Right, and it's been something that happened here for years, that once it stopped, it was sorely missed. It's family oriented, there are games, food, there's beverage, we will have a liquor license for the day. We have the health permit, you have that. So we're trying to bring it back as Stan said, to celebrate the 75th of the Lions, and hopefully, if all goes well.
Again next year.
That's great.
So there's going to be music and games.
Yes, there are games, there's music, his name at the second, I can't remember the first. Eric Carey and the constituency, they've donated their time, and so they'll be playing from 12 until 3, I think it is. But the event starts at 11:30 and ends at 3. Just from past history, again, it's been something that everybody really loved, and we're hoping that that's going to be the way it is again this year and maybe beyond. It's good.
Where do they hold it? They hold it over at the firehouse?
Right on the side lawn. Yeah. It's a lot of fun.
No clowns, right?
No clowns.
No clowns.
No clowns. Is it gonna be a dump? Oh, well.
So the reason they're in front of us is to request a noise exemption for the concert.
11:30 to 3.
It's 11:30 to 3. The music, I believe, is from 12 to 3. Yeah.
I don't have any questions.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is Fresh Pond. We have an opportunity for additional vegetation to be removed in Fresh Pond. They did it once earlier this year, and I will let Joe Sonora, I believe, I'm not logged in yet, so is Joe on?
Yes, Joe is on.
Joe, do you want to go over this request?
Is Joe here?
Yeah, he's zoomed in. He's
Yeah,
on.
I think he's, here he is.
Here he is.
Perfect timing.
Were you out in the hallway?
Upstairs, I wasn't sure if you wanted me in person.
That's good. Yeah.
Okay, the briefing on Fresh Pond is that we had great success with our initial round of vegetation removal. We may have gone a little bit early because our total tonnage removed was a little bit less than last year. But nonetheless, we saw almost immediate improvements in visibility. And the Fresh Pond Neighbors Association had a successful fundraising year. They have an interest in doing another round of the vegetation removal. So our permit that we have in hand from the state gives us a several-month window to accomplish this work. And if the Fresh Pond neighbors are willing to support this effort financially, and the town board agrees to allow it, then we'd be able to initiate another round of cleanup as early as next week. So that's what's before you today. The original resolution capped us at the first round of vegetation removal, so we'd be seeking a new resolution to authorize a second round with the same contractor for actually a slightly discounted rate under the same permit. So it's a fairly simple approach, but does need your approval.
So we want to do it again because they either started too early or maybe the spring was too late, or there's.
The timing of the growth, it's best if we could do two, but last year we kind of compromised and went in the middle for the sake of saving funds and paying for the, limiting the amount of money we spend on mobilizing the contractor. So this year we went a little bit earlier, but the funds allow for a second one. So I think in total, we'll be able to remove more vegetation over the two trips this year than we were over the one trip last year. But the Fresh Pond neighbors would be spending more money this year for the two visits versus one.
Since you opened the door and mentioned funds,
Yes.
could you just recap where the money's coming from?
So for this effort, the vegetation removal, which is done through a contractor, a specialized pond maintenance contractor called Solitude Lake Management. They bring this unique looking device, for those who've seen it out and about, but it cuts the lily pad stems down near the bottom, and it sucks up all of the material from the top, collects it, and then discharges it at shore. All of those activities are paid for by the Fresh Pond Neighbors Association. The town has incurred some expenses through my time to organize the permit and a few $1,000s to execute those permits for outside services. Like there are permit fees that the DEC has as an established fee schedule for the wetlands permit. And we also pay for a limnologist to complete an assessment report, which is a requirement of the permit from the DEC. So our out-of-pocket expenses from the town's perspective are with about a few $1,000s for the effort. The Fresh Pond neighbors pay the contractor, which each visit is about $10,000.
And so the town's outlay is all around administrative incidentals.
That's right.
Thank you.
And I did get a confirmation email from Peter Grand, Fresh Pond Neighbors Association will cover the costs for the second harvest up to $9,000.
Which is the contract value, matches the contract value.
Comes in the contract,
Yes.
hopefully,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah.
So these spoils, they go to landfill?
Yes. Yep, they get worked in with regular organic materials for mulch and topsoil.
Are the spoils, are they suitable for compost?
Yep.
But the town needs them as opposed to, if the manor is collecting compost materials from the town.
It's suitable for that. The permit with the DEC makes us specifically say where it's going. And for purposes now, we've indicated it's going to go to the town's transfer center. So, but in the future, we could explore other avenues if there are folks or entities that want to take the material. That would be fine also.
As long as the town is making good use of it, that's fine.
Oh, yes, it gets worked into the other organic materials.
Joe, this requires a second round of permitting?
No, the permit that we have applied for has
The duration,
Exactly.
okay.
Yep.
It only requires a second resolution because it's a new contract that was not, we did not cover it in the first resolution that we did, so we legally have to have another.
Sure, would this be the new timeframe that, like, going forward? This seems like you've adjusted, so now this is twice. And with last year, you said you started late. Okay, so you're finding now that you may need this, so this would be like a standard going forward?
I would hesitate to call it a standard. The two variables are the progress of the pond, the seasonality of these vegetation blooms. Last year was a little bit later, so we were able to make it make sense with one harvesting effort. This year was a little bit earlier, but we also had the funds from the neighbors to support two efforts. So I think it would depend year to year on whether you do it once or twice. And quite frankly, it most largely depends on the neighbor's ability to pay for it at this stage, because their budget is what's supporting the contractor. And then also the town board's interest and willingness to support with the administrative resources.
I know in the past they had talked about doing it twice a season, once in July and once in August to make sure they captured as many lily pads as possible. So it makes sense that when they have the money now that they could do it.
Any other questions from the board? Any questions from the public? Okay. We will put that on for resolution on Monday. So that they can come in and get that done. Actually, it's on later today,
No,
sorry.
I think we just do it today, don't we?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't turn the page. I knew we needed resolutions, okay. USGS well drilling,
Yes, and that also should be on the agenda.
it is, I turned the page.
Everyone should have received the contract or letter of engagement, I think it's called, with USGS. This is just the formal agreement that we would maintain with USGS for installing those two monitoring wells. I've briefed the board a few times now on the progress of that project. USGS is going to be installing saltwater monitoring wells on one at Wade's Beach, a shallow well, and the other at Sachem's Woods, a very deep well. The Wade's Beach well would be about 60 to 80 feet. The purpose of that location is to extend down to the nearest saltwater interface. The well at Sachem's Woods would be much deeper. It's going to be about 1,200 feet, or certainly more than 1,000 feet. The purpose of that well is to penetrate again much further below any of the drinking water resources to extend into known saltwater aquifers. The purpose of that well is to work in tandem with the Wade's Beach well, so we understand the relationship between salt water as it moves in from the periphery of the island and towards the center. Neither of those wells can be used for production. They are scientific monitoring wells, very similar to the other wells that we have throughout the island, which we use at the WAC committee meetings for measuring aquifer levels or for taking quality samples. So we have a network of monitoring wells already under the purview of USGS. This would be an introduction of two more of a different variety. Most importantly, though, it comes at no cost. The agreement specifies that USGS is responsible and liable for the installation, the maintenance, and even the decommissioning if they have a need to remove these. The expected life, though, is several decades. We have many monitoring wells that are 20 or 30 years old already, so we wouldn't expect there to be any need to remove these. And we've specifically picked locations where they wouldn't, where they're advantageous geologically, but also where they wouldn't be in the way of any future work.
Any questions from the public?
What does this expression mean? The well water will be sampled for multiple constituents,
Constituent.
constituents, yes.
It's another word for contaminant.
Yeah, it's standard policy for USGS when they take samples to run a full spectrum analysis on it to understand what the mineral content is. This particular effort is about chlorides, and that agreement that you have before you is a standard form that they use for all their monitoring wells. So it doesn't specify the difference in depth or in the type of monitoring technology that they use. Some wells in our network are just sampled by extracting water. Others are installed and mated with permanent electronic devices which measure different types of water quality issues. So none of those details are in the agreement.
This well is strictly for saltwater intrusion. It's
That's
not
right.
for fresh water. It doesn't have the capacity of testing for fresh water quality.
No, none of these deep water wells would be in the freshwater lens of the aquifer for us.
The only thing that I know most people wouldn't know what this lat line is, okay? It might be worthwhile to have like a little map attached to it so people know where the
Sure.
actual physical location is.
Sure, yeah. For the record, just as a verbal description, the Wade's Beach location would be off into the grasses immediately on the right when you enter the parking lot. Understood there maybe was a volleyball court there in the past, but at present there's nothing there. It'd be right after the large rock that anchors the parking lot. And the Sachem's Woods location will be about 100 feet off the street, off to the right of the main walking trail. So it's not going to be in the trail, it won't impact the trail functionality. It will for the time that this is being installed, but other than that, it's off to the side in an existing clearing. We walked through the site with USGS, Delta Well and Drill, they're the contractor, and Ken Lewis. And we identified a location that didn't require any trees to be removed. They just widened the trail by cutting the grass and cutting a few branches to make sure the drill rig could fit through. So in terms of the locations, everything is prepared. So if anybody had any questions or wanted to see what the impact would be, you could walk through those trails right now and have a look.
Got it.
While we have you, I thought I'd give you the opportunity to make the announcement about the county grant that we got on vacation.
I'm going to share some other good news that just yesterday, grant application that the town submitted for the Fresh Pond pilot project was selected by the Suffolk County. I always forget this acronym, WQPRP. It's the county's version of our WQI. Each year they collect applications in the late spring, early summer, and the basis is always for water quality improvement. We had applied as a township for a grant to cover the matching funds of the state grant, which we were awarded, and so we were awarded this also from the county government. So a total of $65,000. It makes the Fresh Pond pilot program a zero out-of-pocket project in terms of cash contributions. So we have one state grant and one county grant, and the respective grants will pay for each other's match obligations.
Great.
That's the best case scenario we were hoping for.
That was what we were hoping for, yes.
That is right.
Thank you, as project manager on showing that, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And for the support of walking through all those scenarios. I remember that was one to get one and not the other. We hit the home run and we got everything. Yeah.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
Next on the list is the intermunicipal agreement for the Peconic Bay Region Advisory Committee. It was circulated to all of you. Christina, did we put this on the website? Yeah. This is what the 5 towns have been working on in order to establish this advisory committee. There's been a lot of back and forth. So this was the final edits were incorporated here. So I would like to put this on for a resolution to adopt the town being able to enter this IMA with the other 4 towns on Monday night, so that all of the towns are in the process of adopting the same agreement. And so then we can move forward with getting it signed, and we will be able to have our first Peconic Bay Region Advisory Committee meeting, hopefully sometime in September. Sounds good.
So Amber, this is the group, okay, that you will be representing the town. I guess what comes out of that advisory, the board, how do like if there are recommendations, or they're looking for clearance, I guess, members of the board or the CPF or WQIP would present questions to you to present to the board? Is that what I'm?
Yeah, the town would make an application. It wouldn't just be me, it would be an application to this advisory committee to say, we've got these questions. And I've got 2 on the list about, one is for WQI funds, whether or not funding, so what it constitutes new growth, because that's always been a question. We've always taken a stance locally that if someone has a new piece of property that's not, vacant land, that they're not eligible for a grant. But some people interpret the law that because the property's already subdivided, it's not creating new growth, that would be eligible for WQI grant. So we've always taken a more conservative view, but now we can put that question to the Peconic Bay Region Advisory Committee to say, hey, could this qualify? We also had an application to our local WQI, someone who is converting a commercial property to a residential property. Is that constituting new growth? So those are 2 questions that we will, once the committee is established, we've got some work to do. Once we are formally on board with this IMA, then we can hire the attorney that's going to advise that committee, set up meeting dates and things like that, and get the housekeeping things in order. Will probably be our September meeting. And then October, hopefully we can start to accept questions.
And the opinions will be, these are opinions, correct? That's what the board comes up with. Then obviously, because it'll be from other towns, we'll have opinions as well, okay? So there may be things, it's not a mandatory thing. Like if another town presents something, it doesn't match what we feel, we're not obligated to it, I'm assuming, correct?
Right, they're just offering opinions on.
Opinions, just opinions only.
Yes, and then all 5 towns will post those advisory opinions on our website, just so that they're available to all.
Has legal counsel been selected, or?
There is someone who the 5 towns have agreed upon. She is someone who's been involved with CPF from the onset and used to work with Fred Thiel on this, so she's well-versed in the history of what's gone on before. So she was a good first choice. So, any other questions? So we will do our part to keep this moving on Monday night. And I will see the other East End supervisors tomorrow at our bi-monthly meeting, and I will let them know. Thank you. Next on the agenda is 7 Cheapwood. 2. Okay. So the question before us is the 100 square foot exemption. And in thinking about this, I think it breaks down to a couple of questions. One is any use of the 100 square foot exemption a one and done? What have we historically done? And then the second is, have they used any of that 100 square foot exemption if it's not a one and done? And thinking through it and going through all of the paperwork that we've had and the you know, the back and forth, I feel historically that it has never been a one and done. That in the past, if someone used 50 square feet, they still had 50 square feet available. If someone had an encroachment and used it and then took it away, they were starting from scratch again. So for me, answering the first question is, I don't think it's a one and done. Like if you use 5 feet, you've given up the other 95 feet. But how do you all feel about that? Because I feel like that's the first question that needs to be answered before moving into what would the calculation be?
Yeah, I would agree with you because that was always one of the complaints we heard from the building department was that it's hard to track because it is, you know, it's a give and take, it's flowing. So I do remember that being the case.
I think it's a one and done. Back in 2007, the demolition of the pool patio should have required a wetlands permit to do that work, that removal, in the wet 100-foot area.
We can't undo that.
What's that?
We can't undo that now, if there should have been a wetlands.
Right, but from that, I'm looking at the 36-foot stoop that was put in the wetlands area.
Mhm.
22 square feet of pool patio that was left in the wetlands area. And the, 18 square feet of AC unit.
Yeah, I think it's a word,
I'm looking at that as the one-time exemption taken at that point. 76 square feet as a one-time exemption.
so you're saying there was nothing, the rest, that whatever wasn't used of 100, it's no longer.
No, it was a one-time.
Stephen Leventhal, you had some comments on this last week, I believe. Can you reiterate, please?
Well, I'm not looking at the language at the moment. I don't have it on my screen, but my comment had to do with the sequence of the words that were used. There's a particular sentence that describes the exemption. And do you have that handy? Can you?
Yes. Section, yes. The language is the wetlands permit exemption for new construction less than or equal to 100 square feet is an exemption of all new accumulated construction totaling 100 square feet or less.
Right. So what I noticed is that the word new precedes the word accumulated. So it's not all accumulated new construction. It's all new accumulated construction. And I think that the order of those words is something that the board could attach significance to.
Thank you.
By the way, am I right that this exemption no longer appears in the proposed new code?
We're removing it.
Good, because otherwise I was going to recommend clarifying it.
I do feel that we've never interpreted it that way before. Right.
Well, as they say, you're never bound to your prior mistakes.
Mhm.
Needless to say, this is a decision that could be made either way. Or let me state that differently. It could be justified either way. But I think that the plain language itself suggests to me that it's a one and done.
Which way? Which way are the two of you leaning?
I'm one and done.
One and done.
Done. Okay. Then That's 3-2, so we don't need to get into the square footage calculations then. So we will do a resolution on Monday that denies the 100 square foot exemption as having been previously used. Okay. Yes. Wetlands permit application for
Well, before we leave that, 7 Cheekwood, we received an arborist report. The neighbor had requested that the trees on their property be protected. We got an arborist report and what he would think. And I don't know if, along with that, if we should have our environmental analyst take a look at the situation before the construction starts.
Well, it's out of our hands
Yeah, that
because
would
there's
be-
no application in front of us. It's the building department.
Yeah, I was gonna
Because
say,
we
we
just denied the 100 square foot exemption, so
Yeah, that would be, it would go to the building department for them to consider. Because it's, we're not handling it right now, so we should talk to Reed about that.
Okay, I think we should.
Do you want to be tasked with that?
Yeah, I'll take care of that.
Forward it. Forward the letter.
Okay, all right, good. Thank you. Still feeling flat for the meeting. Getting nervous this morning. Okay, so Keller is next on the list, and we had held it open for correspondence until August 1st. So we did get something in, and I actually need to go get my file from my office. I forgot to put that in the folder this morning. That's okay. Feel free to start the discussion.
So the last piece of correspondence we got was from Teresa Mason, just saying that she received the site plan with the vegetation plan and it's acceptable and she's fine with it.
It's been boring, but did it come?
No, I thought that they actually did a very good job of coming up with a revised plan. So I really didn't have any recommendations for it either. You know, just the same basic, silt fencing and all that kind of thing, the basic.
Again, Meg, we agree.
I
People are just to talk.
know, crazy. Yeah, there was just that one dry well that was within the setback, but there was no place for them to move it to. And so since they're required to have the dry well for the roof runoff, then I'm okay with it being just within the 100-foot line. We did also receive the updated health department plans that you guys had requested, so they do have that.
And did you talk about the,
Yeah, the letter from Teresa accepting the vegetation plan.
yes, if the revegetation plan has been accepted? Okay.
Yep.
Good.
Other than that, nobody seemed to have any. Other than just the basic silt fencing and the basic
Yeah.
conditions that we typically put on it.
As I, like, was coming in, you were saying something about the,
Oh, there's this one dry well that's
yeah, that's
just
gonna get
inside the
moved
100
outside,
foot.
yeah,
I actually don't think they can move it
It
outside.
has to stay there.
okay,
And
Right.
that was the one exception,
Right,
which is,
because
okay.
they're required to have dry wells for the roof gutter, like the gutters, but there's no place to put that dry well where they'd be able to capture all the runoff.
Okay.
So it's just inside the 100 foot. I thought that was,
good for the environment.
what'd you say?
Aren't dry wells good for the environment?
Yeah, they help recharge.
Yeah.
It's not the worst.
And then it's not running off into the,
Right, into the
Wetlands.
wetlands next door.
and we're, the shower drain should be connected to the dry well. We're gonna put that in from the planning board.
Let's see, where was the shower again? What side of the house? I mean, either way, they can run it into the dry well. You have 3 to pick from. But it can also go into like just a small plastic individual dry well.
Yeah, outdoor shower is very, it's a grade. Right there.
Yeah. They can just put in a small plastic pouches for it, it's not that required. Yeah.
Steve, we will summarize these for you. Anything else?
I mean, with the shower, it might almost be better to let it just run on the ground, because then it gets naturally filtered through the grass. It's not gonna be such a tremendous amount of water that it requires for anything.
It is an outdoor shower, but it is close to the neighbor's property.
Yeah.
So a dry well would keep it on their property as opposed to letting it run to.
It would be
It
easy
is.
enough for them to put a small dry well right outside.
Yeah.
So we can definitely make that a requirement.
Well, probably good. So narrow, this piece of property.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Whose idea is this?
I'm pretty sure it predated Logic.
Yes.
Subdivision was done long ago. It's like,
Yeah. Any other recommendations? Just the dry well for the shower and silt fencing and some of Teresa's standard precautions, right? Yeah.
Sounds about right.
Yep, okay, good with that. Next on the agenda, I had put the pro-housing resolution discussion continuation. I last week got some language, a whereas clause from Steve to incorporate, to see if I can find it handy. It was suggested earlier this week that my computer needs more memory. I'm feeling it.
I need more memory.
Yeah, so if you can't put a chip in on that, I don't think.
What about me?
Yes. Steve, I don't know if you have it handy since I'm having trouble pulling up anything.
I'm pulling it up right now.
Okay, thank you.
Do you know when I sent it to you?
I believe it was Wednesday. It could have been Thursday.
Okay, let me see. Whereas the town board has on this date adopted an accompanying statement of legislative intent and
Okay, yes, yeah.
I didn't charge the town for the word "and." That was free.
The other 10 words, though.
Yes.
So what I did is I reached out to the state rather than us adopting this and then sending it up. I talked to our contacts and sent up a draft of this with this one whereas clause, as well as the draft companion statement, letting them know that the draft companion statement was not finalized by us yet, but that it was substantially what we were doing. And so they were going to run it up to the, what's the acronym? It's like the Pro-Housing Community Department of the state.
No response yet.
No response yet. And I had wanted to reach out to them. One of the people is out for a sick family member. So I need to reach out to the alternate. So I just wanted to let you know that I just started that process so that we could maybe get an answer and know what we're going to adopt.
Well, in an effort to shorten this conversation.
Yes, which that's all I have.
Any indication, Amber? Any time frame before they get back? Any guesses?
No.
Any indication? Nothing?
No,
Okay.
because I mean, I'm dealing with liaisons, so these are the state liaisons to towns,
Okay.
specifically East End town. So they were going to reach out to the department that handles the application, but I will give them a call. It's been crazy the last few days.
Okay. Can I talk for a minute?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. I've been looking at this conversation that we have been into for the last couple of weeks, okay? And I put a whole bunch of thoughts together, made a whole list of things that I thought that made sense to me, okay? And I thought, can I just read a statement that I have? It's not something it's something that I put together, okay? What I really want to do is I want to make clear about where I stand. I want to see these 10 affordable housing units built. I believe I was elected to represent the entire community, and it is our responsibility to the public to create a transparent financial process. I think the community deserves to be informed and involved every step of the way. And let me just say it again, informed and involved. The affordable housing is not an option on Shelter Island. I think it's essential. I think we have to get this done. I'm ready to vote for the model resolution now as is. This is only an aspirational document, but I really do not support the inclusion of the companion statement. I think we need to keep our focus where it belongs, build these first 10 units. I would like to see CDC-LI to make a presentation to the board as soon as possible so that the community can see what's going on. We need a full understanding of the process and the financials. This board holds the final say. We are the ones who have to make sure this plan meets our community needs. We need all the details to be on the table in order for us to do due diligence. After all, we are talking about making a 49-year commitment. Each of us made promises to our island community about housing. I'd like to take my promise seriously. I think we have over $1 million in cash on hand in the Housing Board account. We have a steady stream of income into the housing. The resources are there. I think it's time to break ground with a fully vetted plan. And let's not delay on moving these units forward. I think the people are counting on us. I think we need to, let's move forward. And that's really my consensus after these last few weeks.
How does everyone else feel about adopting the pro-housing?
Well, being one of the 3 people that spent a lot of time working on the companion statement, and thank you, Meg and Liz, for putting up with me on this. Because I was a big pusher of the companion statement. And after, talking to our learned counsel, Mr. Leventhal, and what he had to say last week about it, I hate to say, I'm not sure it's needed anymore. I think the whole effort behind the companion statement was to avoid unintended consequences. And spending a week thinking about it, I think it actually creates some unintended consequences. Possibly, who knows? So let's just leave it aside for now. And I think the resolution as it stands on its own is relatively harmless and innocuous. And it is a statement of ambition, which in generally are good things. We want our kids to have statements of ambition. So I'm okay walking away from the companion statement and just passing this thing now.
I'm good with it. Yeah. Albert?
Model resolution is okay,
All right.
works. I
Okay.
think the companion statement just started to get too expansive,
Yes.
frankly.
Does this mean I'm not going to get paid for the whereas clause?
No, he'll still get paid.
Wait a minute, hold on.
That short
Let's talk
sentence.
about this for a minute.
1, 2, yeah, 10 words.
Yeah. You
All
said-
right, so then we will put that on for Monday to adopt. So we'll start moving forward. I mean, there's more steps that, in order to sign up for it, but at least now we can start moving forward with those steps.
There are other safeguards down the line.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Just to talk about housing so that resolution we can adopt. We can get staff working on what's needed to follow through on the application with the state. And I had reached out to, well, first we have the MOU that we are going to, in a legal session, Steve had some comments that he wanted to make. And then once we have that conversation this afternoon, we will schedule having the group meeting that we will, just so we can get this MOU and everybody's comments on the MOU on the table, and we can get a draft over to CDLI. And I have tentatively reached out to them, looking at the 12th or the 19th for them to come in and do a presentation to us.
Okay.
Uh,
And again, I would ask,
Can we do that?
12th
Is
or
that-
19th?
either next week or the 19th, more likely the 19th, because if we have questions or concerns, and I presume everybody's got the binder at this point?
Yes, that's the RFQ binder.
It's the response to the RFQ. Yes. So if you have any questions or specific topics, because what I had laid out for Gwen O'Shea of CDLI is that we would try to pull together any questions or areas of concern that we want her to address so that she pulls the right team to come speak to us.
Okay.
So the faster you can get me, like, do we, when you look at the response, you've got the different players involved. Do you want somebody from each of those, each profession, each area of coverage? Or do we just need Gwen and we need the, I don't have it in front of me, like the main partner with them? Or do you need the environmentalist and you need the architect and, who of the team do you want present? So I can communicate that to her in order to,
I recommend that for this, we just have the dogs and not the ponies.
okay, so who would the dogs be? I'm thinking of top 2.
Yeah, the CDC.
And material
Oh,
instruction.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Really,
thank you. Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
Just because of the timeline of that, so I'm wondering, is there a way, so Community Housing Board is meeting next Thursday. So potentially, like, would you guys be able to join part of that meeting to talk about the MOU? Just because we're gonna be hard pressed to make, especially at this late date, make another date that week to make a separate meeting with that. And so I'm wondering, since I already know Community Housing Board will be in this room at 7:00 with our lawyer, like, could I put that forward as a time where we could maybe do like a joint meeting to get through the MOU?
I'm good with that. I have plans. I will cancel them.
Okay,
So-
I mean, I'm open to other stuff, but just like if we're,
Thursday.
It's Thursday.
It's, no,
No,
not
next
not 2 days, a
Thursday.
week. It's the usual community housing board meeting.
the
so
usual, like I already know.
it would already be on your calendar.
Yes.
It's either anybody.
So I can be there and the two of you.
I was just thinking, would you guys be able to join and we could have a full,
Amber, why are we talking about CDCLI making a presentation to the board and to the public? No.
no,
We are talking about that, but separately, we also have to keep working forward with the MOU
Okay.
that Miriam Milgram has drafted. And so Stephen has gotten a copy of that as well as a copy of the response binder so that he can advise us from, like, Miriam's got her focus for the community housing board. Steve has our back on any other town-related concerns that might come up. But we want to get the town board and the community housing board to give their input on the MOU so that we can make edits to it. And then we take that draft that Miriam has, she'll incorporate any comments that we have and get it to CDLI for them to review. And then,
I was just thinking if we could get everybody in the same room. Like, I know, Ben, you had some questions, they seem like they're from Miriam, so if you could be in the same room with Miriam, and then also your counsel was there, I think we could move the ball forward.
Can I just mention that boards can have joint meetings, but remember that a meeting is a meeting for purposes of the open meetings law.
Mhm.
And if you plan to do that, I think you're going to have to notify the newspaper. You're going to have to post a notice of it on the website because it's not the normal length of time that you would notice a meeting for. So I think we need to just make sure that we comply with the requirements of the open meetings law. That's all.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I mean, I think that one of the things I've been so anxious to get something scheduled is because understanding the open meetings law, I think how I see it is that I think it's necessary for both boards to meet with the lawyers. Because I think unless we're in the same room together, we're just gonna send each other emails and it's just gonna be an infinite loop process. But I think that if we're all in the same room, we could answer each other's questions and really get somewhere, but that does require, coordination. So, I mean, do you feel that if we were, like, let's say, to do it, like, I'm proposing we do, community housing board, we do it like as a joint meeting, do we have enough time to notice that? Or what would usually be, what would
For legal notice, it wouldn't make it into the paper soon enough.
so what would be,
I have a question because we're doing a special meeting today. And so we do a waiver of notice. So couldn't we follow that process? I mean, we're putting the public on notice today on camera.
Won't be legally noticed.
Well, yeah, I think what you're suggesting is at the end of business today, adjourning this work session to that night.
We'd
So
actually adjourn, the work session or the town board meeting?
Well, if you're going to meet with the other board to have a discussion, you can adjourn this work session to that date without having to do a new notice because this meeting has been noticed. And that would be a continuation of this meeting.
your work
We
session.
also,
not the town.
yeah, we also have the town board meeting on Monday night, and we have next Tuesday's work session as well. So does it matter which one gets
Well, no,
adjourned?
no, it doesn't. It doesn't.
So we
If
could
you
go from
get-
next Tuesday to
it doesn't.
Thursday.
Okay.
And
I'm a little confused. Have we awarded the RFQ to anybody?
So let's back up. It's the RFQ is a request for qualifications. So we have accepted it because it is within that's what we were empowered to do, right? So we have already, as my husband would say, we're already pregnant, you know what I mean? With accepting their qualifications for CDLI. Now, we do have the contracts to work out, right? But it's not a question of if we are going to, we've already done it.
Done what?
Accepted their qualifications to move forward in this process.
they're the only response.
Right, but we selected them, which is the important part of it, right? Because we could have said no, right? I mean, and
Right.
so I guess I think that I just want to, I think that there's a little bit of confusion. It's obviously up to this board to negotiate the contracts and all of that, but it's not about selecting, like that part is not done. So I just want to be,
So we've
Careful.
accepted CDILI as the vendor, is that what you're saying?
yes,
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Subject to-
I'm sorry, I did not know
no,
that.
it's okay. I just think it's important to, just because I also, just to be absolutely frank, you know, it's just like, I think it could be a little disconcerting for them to just be like, wait, what are we doing, you know?
That's what I'm asking, what are we doing?
Yeah, I would love to know.
I'm
what we're
asking
doing.
that, I thought we had an RFQ, I know you went through the process of this, but I thought, I thought you were advisory and the board made decisions, I guess that's what I thought. I thought that the board decided
We were
whether or not.
empowered to make the decision. That was the whole point of it.
I did not know that.
Okay.
You're saying that the community advisory board had the power to select that contract. Is that what you're saying to me?
We were able to select them to move forward
Okay,
in this process.
I did not know that.
Yeah, so I just think
The board
it's
made the
like a
decision.
little worrying for our partners to say like, oh, should we or shouldn't we? When they're like, what, you already did it.
How did that happen?
It was in the resolution.
It was in the resolution
When we,
when you guys put it up. Like, I mean, this is what we came to you guys months before to make sure.
The structure's a little different because it's an RFQ as opposed to an RFP.
Yeah, so we didn't accept an RFP, that would be a different situation, but we accepted the RFQ.
Right.
And again, it is the purview of this board, as I understand it, to work on the contracts, which of course are binding for the town and, you know, but
if we never come to an agreement with the memorandum of understanding, we never sign any contracts, then nothing will happen. And those things can't happen.
We're not bound.
Well, just so I'm clear, what you're saying that the Affordable Housing Board, they did an RFQ. I know they went through the process of evaluating and make sure he was qualified to do the project. Okay, but this town board did not make that decision that that was going to be the contract, the developer. This was made through the housing board.
The resolution, when we put out the
Is that
RFP,
what you're saying?
yes, we did the selection.
we
I'm
gave
not aware of
them
that.
authority to.
Yeah,
Sorry, I'm not aware of that because I thought we were out of sequence here because I'm looking for, all I have is a 3-ring binder with an RFQ, which basically spells out their qualifications,
correct.
okay? And I have nothing else.
But what else, I mean,
And what I was saying earlier on, just excuse me for 1 second, what I was saying earlier on, what I was looking for is and I thought I said this, okay, I was looking for a presentation to the board as soon as possible so the community could see what was going on. And I talked about the fact that we need to have both understand the process and the financials, okay? I really don't have that.
but the point of it is that it was the resolution gave the community housing board the ability to make the selection. And so we were reviewing all of those items in community housing board. So there's a reason that you guys weren't getting the thing, was because we were making the selection. Now, everything was open, so it's, you know, the process has been open, the dates are posted, we kept to that schedule. So, you know, you're welcome to be here at any point. There was no private meeting, you know, and I guess I would say it's a little, just to be frank, it's frustrating because our process has been absolutely transparent. We've been in front of you guys talking about it. The schedule is posted. So I'm surprised that there's surprise.
Well, the only surprise that I have is that for the last number of weeks, I've been asking for financial models. And again, like I've been repeating, I really don't understand.
So I think part of the confusion is that the step that we're in is that we have the RFQ. We've had an applicant whose qualifications met the requirements of that RFQ. So now the next step is.
And the Community Housing Board has accepted
I
this.
select them.
You've already selected them.
Yes.
Right.
Select.
Can you tell me when you selected them?
When you were sitting in the meeting.
I'm not sure if selected is the right word. We've accepted their qualification. There's no commitment yet.
Right,
But-
right. So
And the next step is where I got a
is the commitment.
big problem.
Yeah, the next,
Well, the
So the
next
next
step,
step is the
it's-
memorandum of understanding, which is the commitment piece.
well, the
Which I
memorandum,
don't think it should be, by the way, but we'll talk about
that's what I'm
that.
trying to say. So
Go
the
ahead,
memorandum of understanding is an agreement to partner with them to then develop the process, to develop the contracts, to develop the financial modeling, to develop
Yeah.
the format under which we will work together to accomplish the goal. So, because we don't have the skill set for building housing and they do have the skill set for building housing, the memorandum of understanding is creating that partnership to then move forward through the whole process of developing the housing. So that's the intention of the phase that we're at now, is develop, like, the MOU establishes the framework under which we will work together to make this happen. So it's premature to be asking for things that are gonna happen in the step following the MOU, like the financial budgeting and how we're gonna, you know, that's like phase 2, we're in phase 1. So, you know, it's hard to demand financial modeling from somebody when you actually don't have a partnership to actually engage in that kind of conversation to share
and we haven't agreed
financials.
in the parameters, so
right,
it's just
so-
like, I don't see how we could, I don't see how you could have any kind of model worth its weight when we don't even have a memorandum of understanding to get to the contract, to agree on what the parameters are. Like, I could just like go into Excel and like type some numbers, but like that would be about as much value because we don't have an agreement on the parameters.
I would be in favor of notifying the newspaper of this meeting that's going to take place to make sure people have the opportunity to see it, rather than just do a special meeting to facilitate it.
Okay,
I
all
would rather go public with it in the newspaper.
right, so the meeting where we talk about and go through line by line the MOU.
Yeah.
Okay.
And is that gonna be a joint meeting or you guys are gonna do that? I mean, either way is fine. I would just love to see that.
Right now, I'd like to hear Stephen talk about the MOU that is sitting on the table here.
Right, I mean, I would also, and I know I have said it, I think it's important to get Stephen's input. I know a lot of the questions are gonna be from Miriam, who drafted it. And I think a more fruitful conversation would come from having both of them in the room, if you wanted to get the questions answered.
That's what if we can do it at the housing board meeting when everybody's present, we can get all the questions answered at the same time, especially about the MOU. I think that would be a good timing. It's already a noticed meeting. The housing board meeting is already noticed.
Mhm.
We can
It's also-
adjourn our Tuesday work session to that meeting.
Yeah,
and
it's
then-
also an evening meeting, so
Yeah, so people are
People
able to
would be able
attend.
to
Yeah.
attend the questions.
And in response to what Albert said, you can do both. You can adjourn a meeting to that date, so you've satisfied the legal requirement of notice, but you can also notify the newspapers and help ensure that the public at least is on constructive notice of it.
Right. Yeah.
Well, there isn't enough time to,
There's not
For
enough
next
time to
week.
make it illegal notice. I can make a display ad saying, hey, what's going on Thursday.
Right.
You notify them. You mentioned it at the work session, this won't be a legal notice with an
Am I the only one
affidavit.
that wants
We
a
can put a
legal
notice on
notice?
Facebook.
No.
I think you're right.
We might not have time though, unfortunately, but how else can we get it out there? It's too late to get something in paper for Thursday.
I can put it in now, will be for,
It'd be for the week after, right?
Yeah.
So that's after the fact.
correct.
It seems like it would be useful to have, especially, I mean, at least this is how I see the timeline. If you guys are thinking about meeting with CDLI or having them come on the 19th, I would think it would be useful to have a discussion with Miriam, our council, and the community housing board, who's been working on this for a couple, you know what I mean? Like,
But
instead of
no-
doing that after.
No, nobody is disagreeing with that. It's just trying to work out the logistics of satisfying the open meetings law. That's all. But I
Right.
think,
I guess I'm just-
I think you will have satisfied the open meetings law if you go the route of adjourning to whatever date certain you wish to have this meeting take place on. And then, of course, you can post it on the town's website. And you can notify the newspapers. While they have deadlines for advertising,
It would be in that
it's
Thursday.
it's not the same as when they actually go to print. So you're putting the newspaper itself on notice that if they wish to publish an announcement, they have the ability to do so.
And if
They
you
have,
just-
they have their deadlines for when they want to have ad copy submitted to them. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about notifying the newspaper.
Albert, do you feel like if there was a way to notify the public would that be sufficient? Or are you looking for like another?
I think it should be in the newspaper.
So.
I think we should be as transparent as possible with this process.
If we notify the newspaper today, they may not be able to put in a formal legal ad because they might have the space taken up, but they still may be able to put it in their calendar.
I'd like a
So then that
legal
would
ad,
be,
a legal ad.
okay, so it's gonna get pushed out to,
Julie Lane is on, can we ask?
I was on Thursday morning. Yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna say that if we would have done this last week, could have done
No,
it.
shoulda, woulda. Julie Lane's on, can we ask her? Is that, I don't know if that's okay.
But that's not a
I
legal
already know
notice.
their deadline.
She's-
No, can we ask her if
But
we
she's
can get it in?
she's editorial and, yeah, she's editorial and advertising it.
So you guys are saying, wait another 2 weeks, do the thing in the paper. And then, but now the issue is now you're not gonna have the community housing board together. So you can't even do the notice because I don't even have a day, I have to find a night that works for the whole community housing board to do it, which I'm happy to do.
And then you would.
And I have been asking for.
How many members are there on the community housing board?
7.
So why is it, why is it necessary for the town board to accommodate its schedule to that board rather than the other way around? If it's important to the community housing board,
Well, I would
and
say
the
that
town-
many of us have day jobs, so it's not that it's not important, but it is, it is tricky for my schedule to get off every afternoon at this time. I mean, it's not that it's not
well,
pretty,
but if there's sufficient notice, which I think
right, but I
certainly-
mean, I can't get a day to even ask about.
I was
Right.
gonna suggest
but
Thursday.
you'll have a date, you might be given a date now to ask them about. And you have,
Great.
and you
Is there a
can
date that
report.
we're throwing out right now?
Really good.
I was gonna suggest Thursday, the 21st at 7 PM. So
I
it's,
mean, I'll be moving my daughter into college, I guess.
I mean, I don't see why there has to be a legal notice in the paper to meet on the 14th. I think if we put it on social media, if we put it on the website, we'll send it out through Notify Me, we'll tell the paper that we're going to do it, and then I think we've covered all our bases because the community housing board meeting is already noticed. So, and if we adjourn our Tuesday meeting to that Thursday, the 14th housing board meeting at 7, then that's also been noticed, it's part of the record for Tuesday meeting.
And it's
Can I
also
just,
part of the record for today's meeting.
Don't hate me for saying this, but I will be in Houston on the 14th.
Unzoomable?
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Yeah,
available by Zoom?
definitely not
Possibly.
doing it without him, tell you that.
So I mean, is there any, I mean, this is, I will just repeat my request, is there a way to get a couple of times that work so that I can circulate them to the community housing board and our lawyer? Like, that is my big ask, and I'm asking for a week.
I think too long as far as notice is concerned, it's the 19th.
Which I,
What's the date?
You know, I have another thought. If, depending upon how long you think this meeting will, how much time it will require, this board meets every Tuesday afternoon. If there is a Tuesday afternoon that
That
the
every community
housing
housing
board,
board member can take off work?
Do we need everyone? I mean, don't we need at least 4?
the town board also has pre-scheduled Monday night meetings once a month. So, you know, there are options here. And if the community housing board, I'm trying to give the community housing board as many choices as possible.
So, I mean, I'm looking for, like, I could see if some of the community housing board could come on Monday night. You know, it's giving them like a week's notice to see if I can get folks there. I also I think the other important thing, which is why I wanted to have a couple of days, was I think it'd be very important to have our counsel there who wrote this, because I think without that, we're just kind of wasting our time. And a couple, at least of the key members who've been working on this project for the last few years, I think that there's a lot of context clearly that needs to be filled in here. I think that would be useful. So.
There's also another suggestion, perhaps, is that if the problem in assembling the members of the community housing board is that it's difficult for them to meet during work hours, maybe the board can schedule something immediately following a work session when the board will be assembled, the board will be here, the public will have notice of the meeting, and at the end of a work session, perhaps at 5 o'clock, the joint meeting can take place.
I mean, I'm open to.
Unless that's too burdensome for the town board.
I guess I would just love maybe like 2 to 3 options that I could go back with. I would want to start with our lawyer, I think, which is the next most important person to have in the room, to see when her availability is. And then I would go backwards and try to see as many of the community housing board members as I could get there. Unfortunately, like, are you guys approving these days? Like, you know what I mean? Like, before I just chase my tail around in circles, like, what works for you guys, so that I can at least know where I'm starting, would be really a useful place.
My personal opinion, yeah, the public should be informed. And the two most important people for this discussion, in my mind, and for my questions, are Stephen and Mary.
Yeah.
Anybody else, not that important. We have the context, we have the history. We're not really talking about the context and the history. We're
It
talking
seems like
about
there's a lot of confusion around the
Document.
context, I would also say.
we're talking about this new document, MOU. It doesn't relate to the context and the history, but there are a lot of questions that have to be answered about this new document before we go anywhere.
So why don't we find out whether the community housing board members can attend a scheduled meeting of the town board, either on a Tuesday afternoon or on a Monday night. The public will be informed. It will be added to the agenda. If not every member of the community housing board can attend, I don't think that's a problem. We can find out the availability of, did you say Mary? Is that her name?
Miriam.
Miriam.
Yeah,
And those board members who are able to attend can attend.
I mean, we'll have Stephen there, scheduled meeting, he'll be there. And if we can get Miriam on board, I think we're kind of almost done there.
Would that satisfy you, Albert?
Yeah, let's see how that works out, sure.
But if that were to work out, would that be acceptable to you?
Yeah. But I'd still like a notification in the report, in the paper.
But wouldn't you already be notified if it was a regular meeting?
Well, but
And we'll
You know, the day.
adjust the agenda items as well, it'll be the
Right.
revised agenda, which
So,
goes out.
right, so if they could come to the Monday night meeting
So
on the
this Monday?
11th, that's one option,
Okay.
right? So that would be one option, that's a notice meeting, it would be on the agenda as one of the topics. So there's that meeting, then we have,
Is that the kind of notification, or you want something that's like?
I think that this is a big thing. I think that people should be involved
But it's-
and know what's going on. And so I know you don't feel that way, Meg, that's
I'm
fine.
not saying that.
But the other three here may jump in. I don't know.
No,
I'm
no, I'm
not,
just
I
trying to
think it's
understand.
important.
Yeah, I'm just trying to understand specifically, like, it's what the concern is. Because I'm thinking the 11th won't work, like, if we get it in, so Amber, we have to decide by the end of this week to get it into the paper on the 14th. And then that's sufficient if we had a meeting the week of the 18th. I know you're leaving at some point.
Yeah, I mean, if we can get her active, maybe David has to bring, I don't know, this has been delayed so long at this point, like, I'll just make it work on my end, this is insanity, but don't wait on me, I'll figure it out.
You keep talking about the delay, this MOU came up
Right.
like yesterday.
Well, the issue is for me is that we can't even get a meeting to talk about it, there's clearly questions and we can't get the meeting scheduled, I don't understand.
That's what we're trying to do.
Well, perhaps I can help you understand. You've just had innumerable suggestions for ways to meet. You have a problem with every single one of them.
I do not.
I don't think
think.
the problem is coming from the town board. Get your members together, see who can attend, select one of the dates that have been suggested, and your project will move forward.
The issue is not the members, it is the lawyer that we need.
A simple telephone
I
call.
agree with that, but that's not what you were saying. But I agree with that. To me, the most important person that needs to be in this meeting is Miriam.
That is,
All my
we're saying the
questions-
same thing.
All my questions are for Miriam.
But all
None
you
of them
need
are for the
to
rest
do
of the
is,
board.
all you need to do is call Miriam, let her know what the town board schedule is, and find out which meeting she's able to attend. It's that
And
simple.
I will do that right after this.
So we don't have a problem.
Except for the request that this is specifically noticed.
We need to figure
We're
out where Mary.
discussing the MOU.
Well, let's see what Miriam's availability is, and then we'll,
Yeah.
I really want my questions answered, that's all I want. But okay.
and just a suggestion, can you write your questions down or edit the MOU so that Miriam can know what?
I answered this already. I sent an
Yeah,
email
Benjamin
around
did.
saying, this document is way off
Yeah.
base in my opinion, and I'd rewrite the whole thing if I started editing it, and it wouldn't look anything like it does now. And I think it's better just to sit down and talk about it.
That's fine, I just wasn't sure if there was like specific items that you had questions about, but if it's that kind of commentary, then we'll.
Can I borrow your lighter so I could set it on fire?
I mean, it's a conversation, that's totally fine.
Yes.
All right,
I'll call Miriam and get back to you guys.
thank you.
Thank
Liz.
you.
Thank you.
And send me her availability and then I'll check with Steve.
Absolutely.
And once we get those two buttoned down, we'll get everybody else on board.
Yeah,
Well, we're trying to move fast on this, but
Isn't that it?
I was not aware that I was not aware that they had the right to decide. That's what I was not, this is the first time I've heard it today.
he
I
was,
sent you the resolution.
It was in the resolution.
I think we're still confusing the difference between an RFQ and an RFP.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes, exactly.
The only thing that they were authorized to accept under the RFQ structure is the fact that the qualifications that they got were okay.
Okay.
Under RFP, it's different. They would be accepting them
The
as,
entire project.
yeah.
And we're not there
Yeah.
yet. We've got to get through this document and then the subsequent documents. There's a lot of work to be done to keep this moving forward.
Yes.
But the
We wanna do-
developer has been decided. Am I correct with that?
The what?
No, it's.
Okay.
We've accepted their
part of-
CDC, are they the contractor that's been selected in this
No.
project?
Their qualifications to.
Their qualifications are there.
possibly be
Yes, I understand
contract.
that.
Yeah. That's
Okay,
what it said.
but the time of
So
the,
it was like a package deal, right? So CDCLI came together with a builder that they would use.
I know that.
A contract, and so that whole
Know that.
package, the qualifications
No, it-
are what was accepted.
no, I looked at the three-ring binder, there's no question they're qualified.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So
They agreed that they were qualified. I just didn't know, okay, that we're basically looking to do a memo of understanding, okay? So it's almost as though we're contracting with this group. It's, right now, it's like there's no, well, is there a way out of this contract? Let me ask that question.
Well, we have
This is, we have to discuss this because this is where my first problem is.
Right, okay, okay.
But we'll talk about it another time. I don't want to talk about it now.
Okay.
And I could be wrong, but someone's gonna have to convince me that I'm wrong.
Okay. So CDC, just so we're clear, CDC, we're trying to coordinate where the attorney for the housing board will be available at one of our board, some framework when the board is here, and then CDCLI will be here at the same time.
No, that's a different meeting.
That's,
So we'll never really get CDCLI will never come before this board at this particular time.
No,
They
no.
will eventually.
They will.
Eventually.
we just need to get together and get the MOU in process, give it to them to review the draft, because if they look at it and say, we don't like this MOU, we're not interested in further partnering with you, they may still walk away from this. And if we don't come up with something that we agree on, we will end up walking away from this.
So
Am I right that there was only one proposal received?
Right.
Yes, correct.
Right.
But I also want to note though, Stephen, that it was a very strong,
Yeah, no
you
question
know,
about
packet
it.
of qualifications. I mean, I went through it and I had no issue with it.
Yeah.
My issue came up with the MOU, which you are aware of.
So we will go over those issues at the joint meeting
Mhm.
with
Yep.
Miriam present.
Right,
Sorry.
because Miriam's the one who drafted it,
Mhm.
so it'd be nice to hear why she drafted the way she did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I didn't know
before,
she was the originator of this document. That actually
This
asked a bunch of more
MOU,
questions.
this MOU, will there be a letter of intent like they had been talked about for so many weeks, okay? There is no letter of intent?
I'm not sure, I'm not sure those two different things. Those terms in my experience are used interchangeably. And the real question is, are they binding or are they not binding? I've seen a handful of binding MOUs or LOIs in my life. And the one that's in front of us is a binding MOU. Why?
so that's what we're.
So that's the question.
Yeah, but before we sign, like, what I'd like to see happen is we, the town, get together, town board, community housing board, we go through the MOU and go over and get it into a form that we find acceptable. Then we let CDLI look at it and they will look at it. And then once we get to that point, but before we authorize signature on it, that's when we'll bring in CDLI, that we know, like, okay, this is an acceptable agreement. They think it's an acceptable agreement. Then I would like to bring
Amber,
them.
when does the financial modeling here not play any role?
We have, there, I don't think, I mean,
I'm just asking that
Yeah,
question
no,
because
they
I
have
mean,
to-
isn't that really what the issue that the community wants to know about? What is it gonna cost, how this
they're
is
not
gonna
gonna
work?
work on it. They're not gonna work on it unless we have an agreement to move
No,
forward.
we have worked on it because they've said they had the
The
model.
community housing board has, but.
We
they
haven't
don't-
seen that.
They don't have the expertise
Yeah.
for it to be
And CDCLI
No.
said that they've done their own.
Yeah, they said they did their own and that they were very close together, and that's all I'm asking for.
So the
But
the
when we bring-
theoretical model that was done, the housing board can share with you.
Well, we've been talking about this for how many weeks now?
So just email Liz and ask for a copy.
We've
Well,
asked
we
for
did
it.
ask for a copy.
We've asked for it.
We did ask for a copy, and at this slate, we're still dealing with that, yeah, okay. Let's move on.
Yeah, we'll,
I understand what
let's
you're
move to the
asking
next
for.
level.
I mean, it's not, it's not about, sometimes it's not even about the town board. How about the public? How about the public that is watching this affordable housing thing? They have to be engaged also. It's just not about what we make our decisions. I think we have an obligation to make sure the residents know what we're signing into. I mean, again, it is a 49, what the way I'm looking at it, it was a 49-year commitment. So geez, what's all the rush here? Let's slow the things down. Let's get the right information out, but to not have any modeling whatsoever, I don't get it. I swear I don't get it.
Well, Stephen has, I think, made an excellent suggestion that moved this forward, which
yes.
was, let's do it at one of the scheduled meetings.
I agree.
Everybody's there, everybody's been noticed, and I think that was a great suggestion.
Yeah.
And all I want is, I want to talk to Miriam and Stephen in the same conversation.
Right.
That's kind of what I want.
Yeah.
Okay,
Lots of
so
questions.
we're waiting.
I mean, we're trying to move this forward. You just made a statement where you want to move this forward. So we're trying to accomplish that.
Well, I guess the only thing is that, I'll be honest with you, I did not know that there's been some decision-making already done. I did not know that. I did not know that, it appears that they've been informed, I mean,
They've been informed that their qualifications were okay.
Yeah.
And we haven't committed to anything yet.
Yeah, there's,
Unless we pass this MOU as it's written, then we're going to be seriously committed.
That's correct.
And I have no idea why we're doing it.
So just
that's
to,
why we need to get together. And
Yeah.
that's what I've been trying to work towards, is like, give Steve a chance to review it, all of us a chance to look at it, and then trying to get the players together.
so just to let you know, there is an overview and cost analysis of proposed construction of community housing on the Community Housing Board website under discussion documents.
Is that 2 years old?
That's the one that was done, was the one in 2023 that was preparing for the RFQ. So, yeah. So, so that is the model that they have. That's the one that they did. It's
They
on the
mentioned a more
website.
recent model that CDCLI had, which I'd love to get my hands on.
I don't think that they gave it to us. If it wasn't in the RFQ package that they.
No, it
did,
wasn't. And
They didn't,
we asked them to look at it, but, we didn't ask all that hard. But
but just to answer your question, because you were asking about that, it is on the housing website.
Cool.
Okay.
I'm exhausted now.
Okay. All right, board member reports.
I was on vacation last week.
I don't think so.
Neither do I, actually.
Everybody's pulling up their notes. I just want to put out there again, the ethics board is still looking for an independent, fifth person to join them. We have not had any applicants. They have to be a resident of Shelter Island. It's a volunteer position, term of service is 5 years, and you can find more information at the volunteer opportunities on the town website.
Pinging that person.
Okay, good.
I'm someone who's
Yes, I
thinking
was gonna
about it.
say, I thought a couple of you had ideas. Just also an update, we have Justice Court Clerk position open. We have received resumes, and the reason I was late today is because we were conducting some interviews this morning. The two justices invited me to sit in with them. So we will finish hopefully interviews tomorrow, and we'll be.
You're sitting in as justice clerk, what?
No, I'm sitting in on the Justice Clerk interviews.
Oh,
And so they are their own entity, but, they did, they could interview on their own, but they did say, yes, we'd like you to sit in. And
Now, is the board going to weigh in on the building department hire?
That's done.
Done.
I thought it was. Yeah,
I thought Reed Karen had mentioned that he thought it would be a good idea for us to weigh in. That's what he said to me.
that's, well, Meg sat in on the interviews and
Okay.
can report back to us about the candidates in the interview process.
So it's already done.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, you guys were all invited to participate, but nobody responded to the interviews. Yeah,
Okay.
Coco sent out an email to everybody saying that they were going to be interviewing, and it was over the course of
That was last
2
week.
weeks.
2 weeks?
And we had, I want to say like 8 candidates, and 2 of them ended up just not even showing. They sent us letters saying, you know, the ferry line's too big or too much or whatever. And, but then we had some good candidates. So we had, I want to say 4 or 5 solid interviews. And this is the candidate that we landed on.
What kind of participation were you looking for?
No, what kind of participation? I don't know. We interview candidates for various positions in the town. I was not looking for anything more different than we've done in the past.
Okay, when we interview for committee volunteer positions, it's a town board.
It's a town board.
It's a town board interview because we want to know the people who we're putting on committees who are advising us. When we interview for department heads, we generally, then the town board interviews the department heads. When it's below department head level, then we have 1 or 2 board members volunteer to sit in on those interviews. So that is our historical practice. Let's see what meetings occurred last week.
There really weren't many. I was just looking at it and I was like, I actually don't.
I had cancellations, so I don't.
Yeah,
I know.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. It's like, wow.
I don't have anything this week.
Okay, then I'd like to adjourn the work session and.
Could I just ask one last question? Okay, the budgeting process, I know that you're involved with that at the current time, correct? Okay, and the way, just so I'm clear, the budgeting process comes to the supervisor prepares the draft of the budget, and then it's presented to the town board as a whole, correct?
Yes.
Okay. This is a new process for me. I've never really been into it. Is that the meetings that you do in terms of creating your budgeting as the town supervisor, is that closed to the board? And I guess what I'm asking is, I know that's your bailiwick, but I was wondering if, I've never seen the process, okay? And I was wondering from an educational point of view, I don't want to participate and I don't want to interfere, but I would really like to see how that unfolds because I guess it comes back to the board again. Again, to the board, okay? And they should go through the whole process all over again?
I'm not sure about the over again.
Well, meaning you're doing it once alone,
Yes,
and then it comes to the town board and they do it again with all the department heads.
yes,
So we're really doing it twice.
yes,
Okay.
yes.
More than twice, it's like 5, 6.
Yeah, so what happens is, the department heads have gotten their sheets and they are all working and the committee chairs are working on their sheets. So then they come in and they say, here are the numbers that we're presenting. And so you'll see when you get the budget workbook, because it ultimately goes to Amber, who then distributes it to the town board. So I have meetings with them, they give me information, there's questions on clarification. So I had 4 meetings yesterday. And so I sat down in detail with the planning board chair. So it was her first time going through the budget process. So we went through in very minute detail, like what was in the numbers, what kinds of things go in, where do office supplies go, where do, all the professional fees. So we spent over an hour just going through so that she could come up with her page in the, budget book of planning board expenses for next year. I also met with Ken Lewis and Catherine Ryan, and so we went through things, and then they had to take theirs back because after our discussion, it was like, oh, that needs clarification, that needs research. Oh, you didn't actually end up you missed this line. So that was one of the discussions. So then I will meet with them again, and hopefully the second meeting will be, okay, here are the numbers that we're presenting. So that happens with each and every department. Then those numbers get filled into the spreadsheet. Then I go through them, and so if there's an ask on something, and it's like, no, this is not the year for us to do that. There may be a number in for something, and I will say, the budget that I'm presenting, the tentative budget, I'm cutting that line. Or this line is historically over, that line's historically under, I'm going to shift funds that they've requested and move those lines around. So you will get something that has prior year numbers, year-to-date numbers. So you'll have 2024 numbers, you'll have 2025 year-to-date numbers, and then you'll have the department heads ask, and then you will have the supervisor's tentative budget. So you will get to see like, oh, Amber cut that, or Amber added that. So when we get into the budget discussions, then you get an opportunity to say, well, why did you cut that? Why is the department head, presenting this? So we are going to have many, meetings. And some years, some department heads, it wasn't requested by the board that they come in. That happens year after year, because it may be just something where it's like, okay, this is what it is. So, but we'll have to see what you requested, who you want to have come in. But you'll get the budget books, you'll have a chance to go through it, and then you can make requests, like, I'd like to see the receiver of taxes, I'd like to see the tax assessor, I'd like to see, building department always comes in, highway always comes in, PD always comes in. So especially when the supervisor makes cuts, then they come in and advocate for restoring the cuts that I've made. So does that help?
A little bit. I guess what I always get concerned about when I do look at the budget is I look at this professional fees. It seems like that's not broken out, meaning there's a lot of money tied up in professional fees. How do you go through that?
I have a schedule.
What?
I have a schedule. Last year I went through and I analyzed at least 2 years worth of professional fees and broke it down into categories and then made us.
So there are multiple categories within the professional.
Yeah, so I had my own.
Which is not shown on the budget.
No.
Okay.
No. We have so many
We'll
budget.
get a copy of the schedule.
Yeah, if you want it. No one
Yeah.
asked for it last year,
Oh.
so.
Definitely want it.
Yeah, but, I presented and
It's a
said what
big
I.
number, and
Yeah,
it's
no,
also
but
a
I
confusing
said-
number to
yeah.
everybody.
I had said what had gone into it and the work that I had done creating that schedule, but then no one asked for the subsidiary schedules. I've got like subsidiary schedules all over the place. So,
Good.
Yeah.
Excellent. Do we have resolutions in this?
yes, so if we can adjourn the work session and go into a special meeting. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
On what topic?
Special
It's a
meeting.
Special meeting.
So we have 2 resolutions to pass.
Who said that?
Stronstrom did. Who wants to read the first resolution?
I'm sorry, can I just ask, did you adjourn the work session or close it?
We adjourned
Adjourned
it
it.
because after the special meeting, we're going to go back into the work session.
Okay,
And then we will go into an executive session.
okay.
And
All
then
right,
when we come out of that, I'm not sure if we want to protectively adjourn. No, we're not going to do that. Never mind. We're going to
Right.
do.
Thank you, thank you.
Yeah.
I don't think I got the resolution.
It's on the backside of the,
The whole backside thing again?
yeah, but I also forgot.
Got it.
Yeah, okay, so Albert, do you want to kick us off with the first resolution?
Be it resolved that the supervisor is hereby authorized to execute an addendum to the original contract between the town of Shelter Island, Solitude Lake Management LLC, for harvesting of undesirable and harmful aquatic vegetation and fresh ponds. The addendum is not to exceed $10,000, and funds are to be reimbursed to the town of Shelter Island from the Fresh Pond Neighbors Association. So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Be resolved that the supervisor is hereby authorized to execute an agreement between the town of Shelter Island and U.S. Geological Survey for installation and maintenance of monitoring wells located at Wade's Beach, specifically located at latitude 41.049969 degrees north and longitude 72.333427 degrees west, and at Sachem's Wood, specifically located at latitude 41072385 degrees north and longitude 72.340153 degrees west. The federal government will be liable and carry all costs associated with the installation, maintenance, operation, and decommissioning of the wells. So moved.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. All right, we will now leave the special meeting and go back into the work session. And I would like to, during the work sessions, to go into an executive session to discuss pending litigation and also to review the employment history of an employee.
Stephen, is it wise to adjourn this current work session to a date specific?
Well, you have the option of doing that Monday or Tuesday of next week.
Okay.
Yeah. That's why I started to go down that path and realized we have other choice, other options.
Okay.
Okay, so all in favor of adjourning to go into executive session?
Aye.
All right.
Okay, thank you, everybody.